How's it going? It's your boy Carlito, bringing you this time a wonderful camera review. So what do we have here? It's a Firefly micro action camera. Let's get it right out. And I have to thank Banggood for sending me this camera for a review. Thank you very much. So let's take a look at what the camera looks like. I've been actually wanting this camera for quite a while because I have a few ideas on how to use it. So the camera itself is quite light. Let me get the scales here. So it weighs at a 15.4 grams, and I believe that you can record in 1080 at 30 frames per second. Yeah, so the angle is 160 degrees. It takes 5 volts and it spends 200 milliamps. Class 4 micro camera, and it can take from 8 to 32 grams. It says the weight is 14 grams, but it's not. It's 15.4, 15.6. Well, it's, 1 gram more. Who cares? Yeah, you can update firmware on it, and that's pretty much the manual. Just says a couple of things about how to record videos, and you can charge the battery through the connector that it brings with. That's one of the kind of issues that I have with, because this is a plug that's not very commonly found. I think it's not. I think you can find it. It's just a bit harder to find than normal. So this cable connects the USB for charging, but also has a video output. So you think that with such a micro camera, we can just put it in the mount that it comes with, and we can fly it in a mini quad, or in this case a micro quad. And you'd be right, because that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna attach the camera right on top of the 2.5-inch quad that we have here, and we're gonna see the difference in between the recording that it gets and the runcam split that I have just under here. I don't think it's gonna be, the same. Obviously the prices are completely different. This costs about 14 or 15 quid. You'll find a link in the description below to the link where you can get this exactly. But it's, I think, an excellent alternative if you're on a budget, or if you just don't want to use a runcam split. And we're back. So as you could see, pretty decent footage, I think. The sun appeared black when it was on screen, but overall the light changes in between going in a dark zone and a white zone were quite nice. I was quite surprised. And yeah, for such a light thing that you can, and so cheap that you can just put on a mini quad and get basic HD footage, I think it's pretty good for the price it costs. The other thing that I really liked as well is that when you power it on, it actually stays with the light there if you start recording. And I know that other type of cameras, the light just goes off. Well, it doesn't have a SIM card now, so it went off. So when you press on and then start recording, it actually stays on the light, so you know that whatever you're doing, you're actually recording. That's good. I like. The thing I don't like much is that you have to keep changing the mode if you want to record in 1080p. So if you just power it on, it'll come on, but it's actually recording in 720. So if you just start recording right away, it's just gonna take you to a recording of 720p. So if you want to record in 1080p, 30 frames per second, you have to press and hold, then go to mode, change mode once, and then press again to start recording. Which, I mean, it's okay, but I wish there was some kind of command or something that we could put on the SD card, so the camera can read, hey, this guy always wants to record in 1080p. So if you guys know any way of doing that, leave me a note in the comments, but I've researched it, I couldn't find any way, unfortunately. What you can do is remove the time frame from the camera by editing a text file that's on the SD card of the camera. So if you start recording, it's going to create a little text file on the SD card, so just edit that text file, and I think if you put there's a Y at the end of the timestamp, so if you change the Y to an N, so yes to no, it will not put any timestamp. But the other thing that I wanted to check again is, will this fly, or will this work in something as small as a tiny whoop, or even a microwave? Well, let's find out. We're gonna decase this camera right now. I wouldn't recommend you doing this if you don't know what you're doing, like me. And I tried looking up online to see if there was any decase manual or anything, but I couldn't find anything, so we're just gonna maybe brute force it a bit to see if it opens, and if it doesn't, well, oh, there we go. So what I've done is I grabbed and twisted the back. I heard a few cracks, so possibly the screws that were holding it are no longer holding it. Let's see if we can twist the rest out. So there's definitely some screw somewhere, I just don't know how to access it. It might be that we have to lift off this screen part here in the front, and there's some screws hidden here in the back. I think I'm just gonna sacrifice this poor little camera into finding out how we can decase it properly. So one side is almost done, and I can see that the there you have the PDB for the camera in front, and in the back you have the battery. Oh, got a little bit scared there. I was just pressing the on button. All right, so the decase is complete, completely screwed, that is. And we've now removed the back part of the camera, and we have access to the front PDB. So in the back, as suspected, the only thing that we had was the battery. And I'm gonna pry that right off. 1, 2. So the camera will no longer power up, but not to worry. Let me just take this connector off. So yeah, as suspected, there was some screw that is accessed from the front, but unfortunately we don't have access to the front, so I have no idea how you can access it. Let me try and remove these screwdrivers here. See if we can pop it off. Almost, but not really. Still connected by that one. Pretty sure it's what I said. There might be a screw somewhere on the front part here, and that's why you can't access it. See if I can take this material that's holding the camera from the back without damaging the camera. It's already trying to pop out, which is good and bad. Very strange thing how they did this. Let's see if I can break the screw instead. There we go. So there was some sort of screw coming in from the inside, and it would attach to the this part. So that's what was holding the back in place, and you can see there on the top, kind of broke it off. So now I managed to remove the screw, which means that the whole camera can come out. And as suspected, lo and behold, there's some sort of screw that comes in from that side. So if you want to remove this correctly, what I recommend is to just get a X-Acto knife and pry the front out. What's gonna happen probably is that you're gonna break the lens in the front if you're not careful, but then you should have access to the little screw that used to be there. Yeah. So hopefully my demolishing of the camera helped you somehow in not trying not to damage yours as much as I did mine, which is just the case. I'm sure that the camera is perfectly fine. So in the camera we see that you have the PDB in the back, a little slot there for the SD card, and then what you have is the camera in the front, and then a little microphone as well. Now I don't record audio much, so as weight is concerned, I'm just gonna remove the microphone from there, but you can keep yours, it's completely up to you. All right, so now we have still the two buttons on the top, so you can power up the camera, and a little connector for the cards that you can connect to the computer, and that's pretty much it. Now, one thing that seems to be the same as the other cameras were is how this is mounted. So unfortunately you can't mount the camera like that, because all your image will be on the side. So actually the camera is supposed to be mounted like this. So not like this, you have to actually mount it like this, straight up, or find a way to mount it sideways, and you can twist the ribbon cable just ever so slightly. Be super careful about this. And you can kind of have a side-mounted camera. Be super careful when you're twisting the ribbon cable like this, because if you just twist it hard, it's gonna break. So if you want to mount your camera sideways to have the least amount of wind resistance or whatever, mounted like this. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna mount this on the flying wing for now, and I'm gonna mount it, I don't really care for now, so I'm just gonna mount it this way, and it's gonna stay right next to that camera there. and we're gonna see how it flies. And then maybe we can test it on a tiny whoop. Why don't we? Yeah. And my idea for that is, again, to mount it underneath the front part and then twist the ribbon cable so it's filming the front. You're gonna get a little shot of the camera with your VTX camera, but it should be fine. So first I want to test the wing though. So I'm gonna mount this, we're gonna go out, gonna get some footage and see how it all turns out. Let's go! And that's all she wrote. Now, I wish I had some amazing, epic dive off a tower or some crazy stunt using the camera, but unfortunately, this happened. So basically, the lens is attached by a ribbon cable, which I thought was sealed directly to the cable, but unfortunately, it can come out if this little thing that holds it goes off. So this hopefully my well, the stuff that happened to me is a warning to you guys, and have hopefully a lesson learned that you can take from this is, if you're gonna have the board mounted like this, make sure that you either put some small amount of glue here, maybe not hot glue, you can use Elmer's glue, like the glue that we normally use for tiny whoops, yeah, I would probably put a bit of glue or even uhu in the ribbon cable part, and then on this little processor here, so you can attach the lens directly here. But yeah, I enjoyed this camera so much, I'm actually gonna buy a new one by myself, and hopefully I'll be able to do the next part of the review, which is gonna be using a tiny whoop. Now, I've had already successful HD footage captured by a tiny whoop, and I can tell it was simply amazing, beautiful. So I hope to do the same with this camera, and I'm pretty sure, I mean, the weights are pretty much the same thing, so I don't foresee any difference on the footage. The only thing is that the other camera that I've used, the day footage, the day quality wasn't that good. It acts really well at night, but I think this one is much better for the day. And that is all that we have for you guys. I do hope that you have enjoyed this review. If you did and you're new to the channel, remember you can subscribe right here, and also there's other videos for you to keep watching in the channel. That is all for me, Carlito, your host. I do hope that you follow me on my next adventures. Meanwhile, bye bye.